So, me and my team, we were just looking at some of the background of Mr. Song. He was a Marine, which is the most shocking part of this story. Was he on you guys' radar before he committed this act of terror on our law enforcement officers?
Well, speaking from the publicly filed documents in this case, I have no information whether he was on the radar of any government agency. Certainly, this assault shocked our region. I would also add that he was a Marine reservist and he was other than honorably discharged.
Hey, what's up, guys? So, if there's one thing I do know, it's Korean parents. And I'm pretty sure Benjamin Song's Korean parents are so disappointed in their son. So much so to the point where they probably can't even attend their weekly Sunday church service because of the utter shame their son has brought to their family name. Anyways, guys, finally, we are seeing some real justice in this country because after months of watching these Antifa thugs run wild, attacking law enforcement, counter protesters, independent journalists, and terrorizing communities, the hammer is coming down hard on the Alvarado ICE facility attackers. Take a look.
So we got some breaking news. We have a verdict in the local trial that's been gaining national attention. An alleged attack on an Alvarado ICE facility. Welcome in at 5 o'clock, everyone. That is where we begin tonight at 5. Dozens of verdicts coming down this afternoon for 9 people charged after a shooting outside the Prairieland Immigration Detention Center last summer. Federal court just wrapping up. No cameras allowed, but our Andrea Lucia was there. She's joining us live now with the moments. Andrea.
Yeah, Ken, the Department of Justice just released a statement. And to give you some context, normally a statement like this celebrating the outcome of a trial would come from the DOJ's local office. In this case, it comes from the Attorney General, Pam Bondi. She wrote, "Today's verdict on terrorism charges will not be the last as the Trump administration systematically dismantles Antifa and finally halts their violence on America's streets." She refers to it as an organization that has been allowed to flourish in what she calls Democrat-led cities. Out here, though, people in support of those on trial, you can see them. They have been protesting really every day of the trial here, say this is far worse. The verdicts were far worse than what they were expecting. Their fear, they say, is that anyone who protests the government could now be labeled Antifa and a terrorist. 8 people in all were convicted of this terrorism charge, specifically a charge of providing material support to terrorists. The terrorist in this case being Antifa, which some witnesses described as not being any kind of official organization, but really a blanket term for groups on the left that oppose what they feel is government overreach. This was the first time the DOJ has brought a case of domestic terrorism involving Antifa. We also saw Benjamin Song convicted today of attempted murder for shooting an Alvarado police officer in the shoulder or neck area. That officer, who survived, was responding to a disturbance at the Prairieland Immigration Detention Center in Alvarado, the protest that all these defendants, or I should say most of these defendants, were at. He arrived, saw someone running away from graffiti, pulled his weapon. Song's attorney argued shots were fired by his client to distract officers that were responding. The jury, though, disagreed, finding that it was attempted murder. That jury did acquit 4 others of that attempted murder charge, those who did not pull the trigger. The other significant charge that we saw were convictions for use of an explosive. The explosive that we're talking about here is fireworks, the same kind that you can buy at a store. We spoke to the wife of Autumn Hill, one of the defendants, about that.
Federal prosecutors in this case told a panel of Northern District of Texas residents with a straight face that lighting off fireworks on the 4th of July was terrorism, was a riot. I cannot think of anything more un-American than that. And I cannot think of anything more inhumane than the horrors that ICE is inflicting through its state terror on our communities.
Yet we do not yet know what sentences these defendants will receive.
Okay, so if you guys are happy with the verdict, make sure you like this video, or if you enjoyed my content, consider subscribing. That said, I want to talk about the sentencing for 8 of the 9, excluding Benjamin Song, and these guys were all acquitted of attempted murder and only convicted of the lesser terrorism count. These guys are probably going to receive maybe about 10 to 15 years for first-time offenders, and I already know the DOJ is going to be pushing very hard for the maximum. For Benjamin Song, he got convicted of attempted murder, so he's probably looking at 20 to life. Like, this is a huge win, because this is a huge statement actually, because when you actually think about Antifa, this hopefully this result will change how they move and how they operate. Because time and time again, we see. I just what recently I saw a Nate Friedman video, and these guys were just they were doing a protest at Washington Square Park in New York City, and this is a public area space, and Nate's free to walk anywhere he wants. But these guys were just cornering him, bullying him, harassing him. They would not let him walk freely within the park. And it was just really crazy to see because the NYPD, they did absolutely nothing to protect Nate Friedman, aside from trying to usher him away from the area, which is just BS.
A couple of the defense attorneys spoke to reporters outside the Fort Worth federal courthouse Friday. They didn't shy away from sharing their disappointment with the verdict and criticism on how the case was handled.
This case was overcharged, in my opinion.
This is the U.S. government's first ever Antifa-related prosecution.
I just didn't think riot or being labeled a terrorist organization. I just thought it was all overreach by the government.
There was support for the defendants throughout the trial. Demonstrators set up across the street, and family members were present as well. As the prisoners left the courthouse, supporters chased down the vans and chanted, "We love you! We see you! We love you!" Prosecutors didn't speak after the verdict, but in a statement, ICE Director Todd Lyons said, quote, "Let today's outcome serve as a warning. Those who target federal officers with intimidation, ambush tactics, or political violence will be investigated, prosecuted, and held accountable."
Okay, so I'm just going to read you a couple of things from this article that wasn't discussed in the clip, and it's really funny. So, as the verdict was being read out, some of the Antifa supporters started wailing and crying, resulting in two of them being ejected from the courtroom. Defendants Zachary Efforts and Bradford Morris brought down in tears. Ringleader Benjamin Song continued smirking. This is a quote from Pam Bondi. Today's verdict on terrorism charges will not be the last as the Trump administration systematically dismantles Antifa and finally halts their violence on America's streets. This is Kash Patel. Today's verdict shows the FBI remains committed to identifying, locating, and dismantling Antifa and its funding networks across the country. Honestly, I hope these are not just words. I really do hope we start seeing more arrests because this group, this terrorist organization, they've gotten away with so much. And you see law enforcement doing nothing. And it took a decade for justice to finally be served because these guys have run wild throughout American cities all across the country.